You live out past Bandera, where the oaks thin into juniper and limestone. One morning you pull your trail camera card expecting deer, maybe a hog. Instead, you are staring at a black bear. The last known population in this part of Texas vanished before your grandparents were born. Now, after nearly 100 years of silence, something is drawing them back to the hill country, and wildlife officials cannot fully explain why. These are not ghost stories whispered around campfires or unverified rumors circulating on local hunting forums. The proof now exists on official government databases. Over the last decade, scattered rumors have hardened into a documented pattern logged by the Texas Parks and Wildlife Department. In counties like Real, Edwards, Bandera, and Kerr, landowners are uploading concrete evidence directly to state databases, replacing local gossip with hard data. The encounters are physical and disruptive. In Real County, a night vision trail camera captures a black bear pacing around a deer feeder. In Edwards County, a rancher finds a heavy steel trash bin dragged 50 yards into the oak brush, its lid clawed completely open. Near Kerrville, a motorist collides with an adult bear on a dark stretch of highway, leaving a carcass that state game wardens and biologists quickly recover, analyze, and officially log. Each incident undergoes official vetting. TPWD biologists cross-reference photographic metadata, inspect property damage to verify authenticity, and match satellite coordinates to map out a growing regional registry. A century after the last native black bear was killed in Kerr County, these records prove the species is no longer just a memory. They are back on the ledger, leaving physical tracks in the limestone dust. To understand why these tracks are so unsettling, one has to look at the blank spaces that came before them. For generations of Texans, the black bear was not a neighbor. It was a ghost from a textbook, an animal that belonged to the frontier past, not to modern ranches. By the 1940s, after decades of systematic hunting, trapping, and land clearing, black bears were considered extirpated from almost the entire state. For 80 years, the rocky limestone ridges of the hill country remained empty of their heavy footsteps. Entire generations of landowners grew up, ranched, and passed down their properties without ever hearing a low rustle in the juniper brush or finding a footprint in the dust. The terrain had settled into a predictable, human-dominated rhythm where the native bear was a historical abstraction. This total absence is what makes the new data feel almost impossible. A species does not reappear after a lifetime of exile without a major shift occurring somewhere in the shadows. It sharpens a singular, quiet question. After nearly a century of silence, why are they returning now? In the late 1800s, the eradication began in earnest. Settlers and commercial hunters systematically targeted the hill country's original black bears, driven by a lucrative trade in thick hides and rendered fat. Steel leg-hold traps snapped shut along rocky game trails, and hounds ran the remaining animals into canyon pockets where they were shot without limit. By the early 1900s, this relentless hunting pressure, coupled with massive land clearing for timber and livestock grazing, stripped the bears of their dense oak refuges. The last known native black bear in Kerr County was killed in 1900, cementing a multi-decade silence. Decades later, when the first scattered reports of returning bears surfaced, state biologists needed a rigorous way to separate rumor from reality. The Texas Parks and Wildlife Department responded by launching an official public reporting system. Through a standardized form, landowners upload photographic evidence, satellite coordinates, and details of property damage directly to state researchers. Instead of relying on local folklore, wildlife managers now track verified physical proof, mapping a quiet, unfolding migration on a county-by-county digital ledger. Wildlife biologists trace these digital tracks back to a rugged sanctuary far to the south. Their primary working theory points to the Serranías del Burro, a jagged 3,000 square kilometer mountain range in Coahuila, Mexico. Here, a robust population of over 1,000 black bears has quietly thrived, protected from hunting and expanding naturally without human intervention. This is a biological pathway, not a captive release program. The first major step of this northern push materialized in the late 1980s, just across the Rio Grande in Big Bend National Park. A lone female crossed from the Mexican peaks into the Chisos Mountains, eventually appearing in a visitor's 1989 photograph with 3 cubs. This single family established a critical foothold, proving that the ancient mountain corridors still functioned. For researchers, this Mexican stronghold remains the likely source of the pioneering individuals now drifting toward the hill country. Satellite telemetry reveals these pioneering individuals are capable of remarkable journeys. Researchers tracking GPS-collared bears have recorded lone males traveling hundreds of miles across rugged terrain, navigating arid valleys and private ranch fences in a steady, northward dispersal pattern. These long-distance walks follow a clear pattern. The bears are drawn by a distinct environmental signal, the shifting resources of the Texas hill country. Along the Frio and Guadalupe River corridors, limestone canyons open into dense stands of post oak, live oak, and Arizona juniper. Here, a massive seasonal bounty awaits. The primary draw of this region is the fall acorn crop. In productive years, these oak woodlands drop heavy yields of nutrient-dense mast, sometimes exceeding 300 kilograms per hectare. This high-energy food source makes the region far more than a temporary path for wandering animals. For a dispersing bear, the combination of rich acorns, juniper berries, and reliable riparian waters transforms the Edwards Plateau into a newly useful habitat. The terrain provides the essential food and cover needed to support their long-distance search for territory and mates. Each image on a trail camera or track in the clay tells a specific solitary story. These are not family groups settling into the valleys, but young, wandering males traveling entirely alone. Biologists classify these movements as dispersal, the natural, exploratory wandering of young animals searching for their own territory, rather than proof of an established breeding population. To date, not a single breeding female or cub has been officially confirmed in these limestone hills. This absence of females splits the thinking of wildlife experts who study the region. Some biologists believe these wandering males are pioneers, the vanguard of a slow, multi-decade return that will eventually see females and cubs follow from the west and south to reclaim old ground. Others view these limestone hills as a beautiful but temporary, dead-end corridor. To them, these lone travelers are destined to wander empty ridges, unable to find mates until they eventually drift away or perish on the highway. The distinction holds immense historical weight. If a female eventually crosses the dry divides and establishes a home range, it would mark the first true breeding population of black bears in central Texas in over a century. For now, the hills remain quiet, populated only by old memories and a few silent, temporary wanderers. Whether these solitary tracks are the first steps of a permanent homecoming or merely the final, lonely echoes of a vanished species remains an open mystery. Subscribe to follow more untold wildlife mysteries. The shadows in these ancient canyons are shifting. As the wilderness reclaims its old paths, we are left watching the tree line, wondering what truly waits in the dark. Something wild is reclaiming the Texas night. Subscribe to follow this unfolding mystery.